Hi, my name is Mal, and I am a compulsive overeater. First, I want to start off by saying thank you to everybody who did service. Thank you to all of the people that give a part of their day to come here, and thank you all for being here. Um, I have been a compulsive overeater my entire life. That is very clear to me at this point. And I am the kind of compulsive overeater where the only thing that has ever helped me is to do this program completely and fully. I get no breaks. And that's been a through line throughout my entire experience. I started off as a kid eating way more than other people my age. I was overweight from as early as I can remember. And, I just grew up with there were no limits on food for me. I just felt like, okay, if I'm hungry, I just eat. And I was always hungry. There's pictures of me from elementary school, and I'm bigger than all the other kids already. But what's kind of strange about at least my younger experience is that I never really realized that I was overweight, and I never really realized that what I did wasn't normal. I never had any consequences. I never had anybody say anything to me about it. My parents never stressed me out about it. I remember growing up my parents would hide food from me because they knew that I would eat it if I found it. And we never had a direct conversation, but it was this game all through my childhood. If they would hide the food, I would find the food, I would eat the food. And then they would move it to a different place once they realized that I had been eating their food, and I would just find it again and eat it again. And it never was spoken about consciously. Uh, you know, I would say that my compulsive eating never became a problem for me in a conscious sense. All the way through high school, I was very outgoing. I've always been very outgoing. I, uh, I had girlfriends all the way through high school. My appearance was never an issue. I probably reached my top weight around 16 years old. Uh, I was about 115 kilos. And there's pictures of me, and I look quite big. Uh, and it just didn't come up. And maybe I never would have made it into this program if not for the fact that one day, and I remember it very distinctly, I remember sitting there watching the television, I think it was the Olympics, and the feed cut out. And suddenly, in the black reflection of my screen, I was lying in bed, I could see my body kind of falling over itself, just sloughing off to the side. And in that moment, I hated myself. And from there, the spiral of this disease took me to some really dark places. I lost everything that I'd had of confidence and happiness from that moment, and everything became about my weight. It became about controlling my weight and my food. I went on an extreme level of anorexia basically the next day. And over the course of a year, I dropped from what was, an overweight 115 kilos down to 67 kilos in less than a year. I was eating maybe 500 calories a day. And I am 181 centimeters, so 67 kilos on me is just bones, is just bones and skin. And I remember I would wake up in the morning and I would down at myself and I would pinch my belly and just think, God, you're still so fat when I was 67 kilos. I was never happy with myself. I hated myself. I hated everything about myself. But after a year of losing that weight, I couldn't do it anymore. I could not stay at that low level of calories, and I just began to binge eat, and I was terrified of blowing back up in weight. So I started purging along with it. I would eat so much candy that I would get sick. I would eat, oh, I'm not supposed to mention specific food, sorry. I would eat so much food that I would get sick. I would be just bulging out of my own stomach, and I would immediately go and I would purge. And at this point, I was in college and I had roommates. And, I thought I was being subtle, but I wasn't. So one day I remember getting invited out to a restaurant by my family. They'd come to visit me. And I'm at this restaurant with my family and I just eat an incredible amount of food. And I think I'm going to go to the bathroom of this place and I'm going to get rid of this. And before I could, I said, "Hey, I gotta go use the restroom." And my father says, "No, we need to talk to you." And I had an intervention where all of my friends sat around and told me how much my purging was causing them to worry about me. And I should also mention, I am a recovering drug addict and alcoholic. I never had an intervention for that. Nobody ever, I didn't do the thing where everybody sits in a circle and tells you how much it affects you. Only for food. So I realized that I couldn't purge anymore, and then became a cycle of the next 15 years of fighting with a binge eating disorder. I didn't purge anymore really after that moment, but I never ate like a normal person. I joined the military after that, and they have a top weight that they set that you can't go over, and I would do anything, exercising, trying to starve myself to stay under that weight, but I was not healthy and I was not happy. I have all these dreams of things that I wanted to do with my life, and food destroyed them because when I binge ate, I couldn't do anything. I would just lay there in bed and I would think about the things I wanted to do with my life, but I would be too sick to to accomplish anything, to do any of my hobbies, to do any of the art that I want to do. Um, and I lost hours and hours and thousands of dollars on food, on trying to exercise to lose the weight, on thinking about food, on laying there feeling sick. It destroyed my entire life. Uh, Eventually, through my other program, somebody I mentioned to somebody in my other program that I was struggling with food, and they said, "Well, there's a program for that, right?" And I thought, well, maybe I'll go check this out, I guess, because I'm struggling and I can't do this. Been trying to handle it through the other program and it didn't work. So I remember my first meeting very distinctly. It was in Alaska, and when I got there, it was me. It was a tiny room, and it was me, and it was five women in there. It was a very old program in Alaska, so it was five women that were all at least 65, and I stuck out like a sore thumb, being my mid late 20s military guy. And I remember going to that meeting and listening to their shares, and I immediately started crying in that meeting. I bawled because it was the first time in my life I'd met other people who had the same experience than I did. And I knew that this program was what I needed. And I knew that I had this disease, and I knew that I needed to do something about it. But I came into the program in 2016. I have 5 months now of abstinence. And that's because for me, I've discovered that the only thing that works for me in this program is to do it completely. I spent years thinking that my main problem was drugs and alcohol, and food was just a side thing. So I came to meetings, I continued to binge eat. I got sponsors, I didn't listen to them, I continued to binge eat. I tried meditation retreats, didn't work. I was coming to meetings every single day, but I was not taking the program seriously. And because I didn't take it seriously, it didn't work for me, not for years and years. Um, I eventually moved over here to Norway, still binge eating regularly. I managed about 2 years ago to put down a specific type of substance through this program, and that was an improvement. But I was still I was binge eating on things that weren't technically what I wasn't supposed to eat, but I was still binging. Um, and the problem was that I didn't, like, we talk about a higher power in this program. I was not willing to let my higher power into all aspects of my life. That was the major program problem. I got fired by a sponsor, which was really difficult. He basically said, if you're not going to do this, I'm not going to work with you. That was really, really hard for me. Um, I picked up another one. We kept working. It wasn't working. I wasn't doing what I was supposed to. Uh, and then finally, she told me, I'm gonna fire you too, dude. And that was the moment when I realized, all right, I I gotta I gotta do all of this, every single piece of this. And from that moment, I have been able to maintain a level of abstinence. And what doing this program completely looks like for me on a daily basis now is that I pray every day, I meditate every day. I do step work every day. I come to a meeting every day. And if I can't, I feel it immediately. Thankfully, if there's a
10
problem,
minutes.
10 minutes, thank you. If there's a problem nowadays, I can maybe go a day or two. But for me, my experience is that anything less than making this program the center of my life has not worked. Um, and so in the last 5 months, when I've been doing this fully and completely and given everything in my life up to my higher powers, absolutely everything, I have had to turn over social media addiction. I have had to turn over staying up too late and not getting enough sleep, which affects my hunger. I've had to turn over all of these things. I cannot try and hold on to anything, any control in my life if I want to stay abstinent. But because of doing that, I've gotten my life back. Uh, since starting this program and working the steps through the guidance of a sponsor, trying to take a service position, making the effort, or taking a service position, making the effort to make this program the center of my life, I've gotten everything else back. I no longer spend my days laying in my bed feeling sick. I'm happy. I like my body for the first time in my entire life. I still have that little flap of skin that destroyed me when I was young, and I've just realized, like, dude, that's what happens when you drop that much weight. It just sticks around, and that's not a problem anymore. I think I look great. Um, and I have gone through the steps now at this point, and I've discovered a higher power in my life that works for me. It cares about me. When I give things up to it, it guides me. Um, I'm about to start on my step 12, and I'm about to start sponsoring people hopefully soon, and that is a little terrifying, but at this point I have learned that if I come here and I do the things that are suggested of me without question, and if I do all of them, and if I do them completely, then everything turns out fine. Things don't always go the way that I want, but I'm so much happier living the life that I have now than I was when I was that teenager that just couldn't stop eating, or that person who kept starving myself to get lower and lower and lower. Um, and it's just such a blessing that I never knew was possible. I think there were points in my life when I earnestly believed that this was going to be a thing that I was going to suffer from and possibly die from for my entire life. And I didn't see any hope. I remember doing my prayers in the morning before I got abstinent and crying and just asking my higher power, please, please take this from me. I hate this so much. My life is so terrible. And I feel a lot of pity and sadness for that man. But when I fully accepted this program and started working it to the best of my ability and taking all the suggestions, it has changed, and I'm living a life beyond my wildest dreams. And I wouldn't have gotten here without the steps. I earnestly believe that it saved my life. Um, so my story is one of I have to put the program first in order to have anything left. I want to say thank you again to everybody who's here. I want to say thank you again to the people who asked me to speak. And that's all I got. Thank you.